Hello, you wonderful human. Welcome back to Meant to Move. I'm Vanessa, your host. And today I'm really excited to bring to you a friend of mine. I'm lucky enough to call her a friend of mine, Kira Sutherland. She's a dietitian and naturopath. I was about to call her a naturopathy naturopath. And she's been doing it for years. She's one of Australia's most acclaimed, does a lot of sports nutrition as well. And I love her holistic approach to sports, health, fitness, lifestyle, everything. I've been lucky enough to have seen her in a professional way where she really helped me understand a lot of things about my autoimmune disease and just my general diet. But she has been doing this for such a long time and practically doing it as well as teaching and coaching students across Australia. And I think her message today and the message that I really wanted you to hear from her is how to bring everything back to basics. You'll hear us say in this podcast that there's just so much noise around what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. I feel like there are so many labels flying around. And today is about what do you really need to look out for? How can you actually do simple things that are going to dramatically change your health outcomes? Maybe lose fat, add weight, whatever you kind of want to do there. It's such a great practical conversation, and I'm really excited to bring it to you. Hello. Welcome to Meant to Move podcast, Kira. So nice to have you.
Yay,
Thanks for coming.
So good to be back. Thank you for
Now,
having me.
It's my pleasure because I interviewed you on a previous podcast. I actually realized I hadn't got you on mine. So it was an important thing that I had to rectify because my podcast, right? Yeah.
And we needed to see each other anyway.
Exactly.
Because we live across the bridge from each other.
For anyone who does not live in Sydney, for context, that's like living in a different country. She may as well live in Europe while I live in Sydney or vice versa because we just don't cross the water. Yeah, it's very hard.
We're actually 2 bridges away.
Correct. Yes. So with that in mind, you'll hear the banter, and we like this banter because today I think the questions that I have today are really simple, and I want to keep it simple because I just think there's so much noise and people are making things really complicated.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of complicated fucking advice and shit and supplements and biohack this and blah, blah, blah.
My least favorite word.
So I want to get rid of all of that.
Let's do it.
And I've been looking at your Instagram and I have a couple of really cool questions based off what I saw. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just thinking about the modern diet. So, I'm working with clients, you're working with clients. If you're looking at the average Australian diet, which is now, I think, potentially about 50% ultra processed food, somewhere around there. Yeah. What are people actually really fundamentally missing by eating this way?
Yeah. Can I also clarify? You and I are in an industry, the word ultra processed food, which I love, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So besides people in the industry. So it's not just junk. It's not a new word for junk food. I'm American born, so I'm going to use that term. Ultra processed means it's highly refined. So it's been broken down, even if it's a healthy food, it's been broken down so far that the particles have the fiber's been broken, which is super good for you. And some of it can be poor quality food and sugars and the things you're thinking of, but it can also be almost like highly refined would be. So, and that causes a problem for people because it's easier to absorb all the calories from that food.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, if say you're eating a really beautiful whole grain bread with lots of fiber and seeds, you don't absorb all of that. And that also slows down the digestive process, which is healthy to not have blood sugar spikes. But ultra processed white refined bread, your body, it's almost pre-digested, which means we get the whole calorie hit, we get no fiber, and you can have a higher blood sugar spike, which isn't always great. So sorry, I went on a teaching mode there. What should we be eating? I know, but I've had heaps of people go, what's ultra processed mean? And I was like, oh, okay.
No, but it's super important because I think that there isn't actually a definition for it just yet, or like a worldly recognized definition, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So what should we be eating? If we really go back to the basics, food in its more natural state, vegetables, like more than anything, if everybody could just put in, and I'm not talking potato,
I love potato, but
we love potato, but I'm talking your green veggies, your dark green veggies, your bright red, shit ton more vegetables. If people aren't eating fruit, I would pull back in, especially berries or like apples. But berries are just so high in all bunch of good stuff, although they're expensive at times. But frozen is a lot cheaper and just as good quality. Like it's
mhm.
just as many nutrients and protein. I'm known for talking about protein. We are not eating enough protein. Half the world is like, we're suggesting too much protein. And that's not true. Our diets are very a lot of people's diets are very protein low. And protein isn't just meats. It depends on your food sensitivities, but it comes in, dairy and cheeses, it comes in protein powders and collagen powders, and it comes in seeds and nuts, and 10% of vegetables are actually protein, about the average, and
Mm,
legumes, beans, stuff like that. So I'm not just saying eat more meat, although
yeah.
some people could use that.
Yeah. I really like this thought that you kind of said about ultra processed, or, having it already been digested for
Digested.
you. Yeah, I think that gives such a really good visual of, like, I had this image of, 2-minute noodles in the cup. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, and
That's
then
not
like,
allowed in my house, by the way.
no, well, I don't remember the last time I had
It's a
something like that.
it's a uni student food. I get it if you don't have a lot of money. I do get it, but I would prefer
Yeah.
you to go make some beautiful rice, brown rice, or even white rice with a little bit of protein over the 2
Yeah.
minute.
But yeah, but like, when you pour the water in and you've got like that sachet,
The sachet of
like
chemicals.
yeah, like you can, like, it goes to gloop
Yeah,
so quickly. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, you don't even need to chew it. You could literally just slurp
yeah,
up the whole thing. And
yeah.
that whole process in itself is like, that's just happening again, like again and again and again, with so many foods that we take for granted because they're just so available, right? And they're so normalized.
Well, and they're yummy. Like when you have that's like an umami flavor, which is like
Yeah.
is that the fifth flavor? I don't even know, fifth or sixth, whatever. The kind of all-encompassing flavor that hits everything. Because if we go back to evolution, we're designed to want multiple flavors. We're
Yep.
designed to want salt and sugar. Everybody knows that. But we actually want as many flavors as possible because that means you're getting as wide of nutrition as possible if
Yeah.
you're in nature getting your food. So, there's a whole degree based around becoming a scientist to know how to create flavors, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually a food science degree. I was like, I don't want to know that.
Yeah. Would you say that it's fair to say that most of us are overfed and undernourished?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We're eating a lot of calories or carbs or whatever macro we're doing. We're eating a lot or drinking a lot of fluid that's high impact calorie with low impact nutrition. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Because then I had a look at one of your other posts, and I've just been
Yeah,
scrolling, well,
yeah. That's
stalking,
okay.
scrolling, whatever you want to call it, Kira.
Yeah.
And I really love this one post that you had, and it's about lose weight by doing nothing. Don't exercise more. Don't change the way that you eat. Just track your food.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I would like you doing all the other things as well. But yes,
Yes.
there is research that, and there's probably more since this original research, but by doing nothing except, like, whether you want to use an app or you want to handwrite or a computer or whatever, taking photos, although I don't think that has the impact of writing it, keeping a food diary makes you lose weight. As long as it's not a trigger, you're an or a current eating disorder person. I'm not suggesting it if it's a trigger for somebody, but for anybody else, just becoming aware. We are the world's worst snackers and not
Hmm.
aware of what we're putting in. And I'm a body type. I'm a person who loves snacking, and it's like the world's worst thing for me. If we just, if we all tracked, or if we all let go of snacking, except when we have physical hunger, we would be such a better place. I mean, you have a body type that needs snacking more frequently. I actually do not, but I love snacking, right?
Which is interesting because I've decreased the amount of meals that I've had.
Yeah.
And I actually generally feel better for it. My digestion feels better for it. And
Yeah.
I've had to very, very purposely, with a lot of accountability from Michael, add more vegetables and decrease that kind of processed,
Yeah.
easy carbohydrate that's so easy
Oh
just
my
to
God,
add
so easy.
so easy to add into your meals to make them quick. But I think that having high fiber, high protein, really
Yeah.
well-rounded meals,
Yeah.
I actually I don't miss snacking 9 times out of 10 unless I've got a really big day and I'm training, or I
Yeah. That's
actually
different.
it's different. Like, I
Yeah.
have a different energy consumption that
Yeah.
day.
It's funny. I went to a party on Saturday night. It was like a sauna, number one. It was like
Awesome.
hot box yoga, but there was dancing. And I literally danced for like 3 or 4 hours. And I was starving yesterday
Yeah.
because I was like starting a bit of a, I do a bit of a, at the change of seasons, I do like a halt on eating, and I kind of bring it back to basics. And I was about to start it yesterday, and then I was like, I'm physically starving. I had to delay it by a day because I just had hit my metabolism so hard with
Mm,
some happy dancing. Yeah. But
yes.
let me also bring it back fiber. So fiber, we often think of fiber like in our breads and our grains if it's whole grain, but your best fiber actually usually comes from vegetables, right? That's huge amount of fiber, not overcooked vegetables, or things like psyllium husks, some seeds and things like that. But fiber is, I mean, we've already been talking about it a lot in the last year or two. It is the new kale. Like fiber is the new superfood because we have this huge incidence of bowel cancer happening in really young people, like
Yeah.
people in their 20s and 30s, 40s. Bowel cancer is a terrible thing, and nobody is to blame for anything. But one of the biggest things with ultra processed food is we're missing the fiber. And fiber is what feeds the good bacteria in our digestive system, and it's what keeps us healthy. So fiber is now the new really big push, and it should
Mm,
be.
yeah.
On average, they say we should be having 30 to 40 grams of fiber a day, and the average person is doing like 10 to 15 if they're lucky.
Yeah, I was going to say if they're lucky. I've kind of dabbled in this with Michael a little bit because
Mm,
he loves to track, and he's probably
good
the
boy.
only person I know who is super on top of that.
Yeah,
Very important for men, particularly, or not only around the bowel cancer but around the prostate cancer side of things as
yeah,
well. So if you have
yeah,
that in your family
yeah.
history, it's like doubly as important for you. But I think that this is where, when we're in real life and before people start to track and before they realize, they think that they're getting enough protein, or they think that they're getting enough fiber, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. And I could you perhaps go into detail about what you would
Oh my
suggest
God.
for someone who is tracking? How do you start to
Oh.
track? What do you do? Like, what's the process of this?
Oh, of actually like tracking what you're eating.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
there's different levels of it. And again, if you're an eating disorder person, please don't go down this route. Figure out different ways, talk to a counselor about how to like become aware in a safer way for you. So I'm speaking besides that. There's, the baby steps is literally you print out a food diary. Like you can make your own. I have a free download on my website. That's a good question. I should have one. But I give my clients, it literally is like date, and I always have time. I want to know what time people have things. It says food, liquids, and then next to it, I actually have emotions and energy
Mm,
level because I want people to track, oh, I'm really pissed off. I've gone for chocolate. I'm really tired. Like me, it's a 3 o'clock slump. I'll be looking for chocolate kind of
yeah.
thing, right? And you literally, I put it on a clipboard, I leave it in the kitchen near where I have to eat. So then what actually happens is you walk into the kitchen looking for food, and then you see the clipboard, then you go, oh, should I have to write it down? if I eat something and sometimes you're so lazy, this is me, that you don't want to eat because you don't want to have to write something but no, but or just taking photos. Every time you eat, take a photo and then review it for that day. So that's the baby way to do it. The bigger way to do it is to download an app. Probably the most popular one is MyFitnessPal. I'm not connected to any apps. I really like a different app called My Net Diary, NET,
Mm,
kind of one word. If you want to pay a little bit, like $10 or something for the month, you get to see a lot more. And this is more hardcore tracking, but it's phenomenal, even to just do it for 1 or 2 weeks every year. When you enter things into an app or a program, the problem is we guess the
mhm.
amount that we're eating,
Yeah.
which we are so off. Again, statistically, we eat 30% more volume than we think,
Yep.
even practitioners. You get these tiny little scales,
Yep.
$10 at a kitchen store. I'm sure they're on Amazon, whatever. These tiny little kitchen scales. And this is so boring and it's monotonous and it takes extra time, but your health should take some time. And you actually weigh what you're eating to an extent, right? Like, don't like, but especially important are the snacks, in my opinion, because I can grab a handful of nuts and if I weigh those nuts and then enter it into an app and it comes out with my calories, oh my God, you think you're having 100 calories with a handful of nuts and you're having like 400
Easily.
calories.
Yeah.
And the
Easily.
average person only needs to drop their calorie intake by 300 calories a day to lose weight at a decent pace, right?
Hmm.
So weighing and measuring everything you eat for a week and entering it in, taking the time to find what you're actually eating. There's actually apps now that you can kind of take a photo and AI, or I don't know what it is, but it's something is figuring out what you're eating and the size. Again, I like that, but I love the manual really knowing because it just brings like I go to make a smoothie and I'm actually going to measure out 1 cup of coconut milk, 1 cup of like how many tablespoons of maple syrup was that really that I threw into that raw
Yep.
cacao I may have been drinking? And you just pull it back to that awareness. It is unbelievable because these apps, if you enter it into an app, will also give you not just your calories, because I'm not obsessed with calories, although people are so negative on it. It's good awareness now and then. I'm not asking people to calorie track all the time unless that's what they ask for. But
Hmm.
macro tracking, knowing your carbs and your protein and I don't care about fat as much, but far out. It's amazing to go, oh, wow, that was huge amount of protein today. I hit my targets. And other days you're like, I am at the half level for my protein.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, to be honest, that's my favorite thing. And I lecture at university in the nutrition degree and the naturopathy degree. And it was funny, I set an assignment last week for my students. These are final year nutrition, Bachelor of Nutrition students. And only half of them had ever weighed and tracked. They're in their third year of their degree. And so I was like, you guys got to go do it. If you're going to ask a client to do anything, you have to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll
No,
be
that's
interesting
totally fair.
today to see what they say.
I remember the first time I started doing it. It was honestly life
It's mind
changing.
blowing.
It's mind blowing. It's totally mind blowing because, you know, people are like, oh, I had a bit of avocado on a piece of toast. And that can be the
You could
difference
blow it
between
out. Yeah.
200 and 400 calories just
Yeah.
by how much avocado
Yeah.
or how big the slice of toast is or what type of bread it is or whatever it might be. And, people like to simplify and I
We
think,
always simplify in our own benefit, but it's
yes,
not in our
yes.
benefit. One of the times I've tracked a lot over the years, and then the one time, God, this is 15 years ago now, ketogenic diets were all the rage in endurance athletes. And I was like, okay, I better put myself into ketosis, like proper ketosis, not like pretend ketosis.
Yeah.
Tracking my bloods, trying to hit 75 to 80% fat in diet.
So
It's
hard.
so difficult. And that was so fascinating to watch and keep your carbs below, between 30 and 50 net carbs. That's carbs without fiber. It was mind blowing with my knowledge. I'd been a practitioner for like 20 years already, how hard it was to find those targets. And I know a lot about food. I was like, I
Mm.
can't even imagine doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
power, it's just educating yourself, right? We get so confused. I'm going to buy this supplement. I'm going to do this. I'm going to exercise, fasted or not. It literally all comes down. There's so many simple things you can do that are pretty, a $10 scale is pretty free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
That's
easy. Most
less than
apps,
2 coffees.
like I think MyFitnessPal or whatever it is, you can still sign up for free. You don't have to
Oh,
pay. There's free accounts and things like that. So it's not like like a huge investment like a lot of these biohacking things
oh,
are, and etc. There's definitely a lot more
oh, and the
cost
blood
effective
tests.
ways.
People go for these blood tests. Naturopathy is quite into functional testing, but people are willing to spend hundreds and hundreds on testing, or they get asked to do it. And I'm always like, let's just come back. It literally, life is about going back to the basics. Yes, the
Yeah.
blood tests are great. Sprinkles on top, or if you think something's going wrong with the thyroid, absolutely check it. And look, magic to know what your microbiome's doing, but I need the person in front of me in reality, I'm not just number crunching their gut microbiome in their bloods. Yeah.
I like it.
Mhm.
I like it. Okay, so just say our listener has decided, okay, I'm going to track.
Mm.
What's the next step? So we're looking at kind of like macronutrients and RDIs and stuff like that. So that's kind of the next question. I would say people ask me about like macro calculators. I tend to use one from a company called Precision Nutrition. Gives you like a little
Yes.
questionnaire and it kind of
I
breaks
love
it down.
precision. Yeah.
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 Do you have like how would you
Precision
then get?
nutrition is great. Oh my God, macro. We're all so different though. There
Yeah.
is no perfect macro ratio. And it also depends on goals, age, sex assignment at birth, let's say it that way. It depends on your hormone profile, depends on your age bracket.
Yes.
There's so many things, how fit you are, how much weight you're trying to lose or gain. My favorite thing first to do, even before I do all the macro tracking, is I get people to focus on protein, because
Mhm.
that tends to be, unless I have a bodybuilder or someone in the fitness industry that's really focused already. So I do a lot of protein calculations. Definitely on my Instagram, there's heaps of posts on proteins and calculations. But, and again, if you have kidney disease, if there's problem with the kidneys, don't go too high in protein, talk to your nephrologist. I'm talking about generally healthy people. Your protein needs go up as you age, because the healthiest way to age is to hold the most muscle on your body. We actually know longevity is about holding muscle and not letting your
Yes.
bones get too weak. So, the RDA or the RDI, so recommended daily intake or
Allowance.
allowance
Yeah.
or whatever, those were set years ago for the average person to stay out of disease. They are not optimum intake. People have created optimum intakes amounts. So if you're only just hitting your RDI or RDA, depends what country you're in, you're not actually being optimum. If you're listening to a podcast like this, I'm going to assume you want optimum. Especially protein. The amount for protein is so low, but it's to keep you out of protein deficiency. So the average person is usually suggested, we're letting go of people massively bulking right now, but the average person, the RDA is 0.8 grams times your body weight in kilos is your total protein per day that you should be having. But that's pure protein, not like if it says, say your calculation came to 90 grams a day, that's not a chicken breast that weighs 90 grams. It's how much pure protein is in a chicken breast is only like 20 or 25 grams, right? I definitely know on my website, there's a free download on protein with amount. And you can calculate from there, but use the app too. It's much easier. I don't need you on my website. So the average person needs between, the lowest I go with people is 1.2. I still
Mhm.
think that's too low. I start most of my clients between 1.4 and 1.8. And then we play from there. And again, different body types sometimes are better at utilizing protein than others, but we're going to play with that. But just, yeah, 1.4, 1.5 to 1.8 is where I start. If there's weight loss or muscle building, often we'll go higher than 1.8, but that's a shit ton of protein.
Yeah.
So I focus on that first. I don't always make people count carbs because people get a little too carb obsessed. My favorite thing is you need one meal a day this forces people into veggies as well. 1 meal a day without starch, like 1 meal a day that's protein and a bunch of green and yellow and red veggies, not white veggies. Generalizing, yeah.
Yeah.
1 meal a day based around that. That's kind of how I limit. I'm not anti-carb. We need plenty of carbs, especially how much sport we're doing. But this meal is never the meal after training. After training, starchy carb is your friend. Feel comfortable having your starchy carb. But I actually play with carbs that way. Sometimes people do ask me for carb amounts, but that's going to range massively depending on how
Yeah.
much sport they're doing and also how easy their body is at storing body fat versus are they, naturally super skinny or not. So the average person I'm going to have on between 2 to 4 grams of carb times their body weight. But again, it depends on sex, it depends on fitness level, achievement goals and stuff like that. And that's low. Like 2 is low, but yeah. Yeah.
And I really like that. I think it's really cool to start with that protein side of things, and then you can kind of build out your meals
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I think a lot of people don't actually realize it's not just one chicken breast, it's one chicken breast nearly
Per meal.
meal.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
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 And people are like, well, what? Like, I
Yeah.
just have some oats for breakfast or whatever. And they're like, but oats are really healthy, right? And you're like,
I have an issue with oats. The oat industry doesn't like me for that. Oats are great. Are they a superfood? They're a very cheap, wonderful, massive carb hit that does have fiber, depending on the type of oat. Has great fiber, but people over rely on oats. As a nutritionist, that's what I find. People over rely on it. And if you're gonna, we have to have protein. So the one thing I do with every client, besides what I've just told you, is like every time you go to eat, locate your protein first and then build the meal around there. So I've got my protein. Oats is not your protein. Yes, maybe 15% protein. I'd have to look it up, but I don't consider that a protein. But find your protein, and then did I just do training? Great. Have the oats, have some starchy bread, potato, whatever. If I haven't just been exercising, is this going to be my meal just around veggies or not? Right. So I make them go through those thoughts. And I work with a lot of I work with a lot of athletes, but I work with everybody. And the teenagers love it. They're like, oh, that's so simple. I just locate the protein and then I'm going to build from there. Do I have training really soon? Have more starchy carb? Yeah. And that's, yeah, see, no one needs to come see me as a client. That's what I tell them. That's what I tell everybody. Locate the protein. There's got to be some veg, and then decide if it's a starchy carb meal or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simple.
So simple. And I think that, again, you can just start to take those little bits if you don't want to track initially. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I can just start with these little tips. I'm going to locate my protein in every meal. But then if you want to optimize, if you have a specific goal, I want to get stronger, I want to lose weight, I want to, whatever it might be, that's when you need to take accountability and look into something that you have complete control over, because we don't have control over what the government is allowing food companies to put in our food, but you have control over what you can put in your mouth, right?
Do you know that I'm like a stats girl this morning? Do you know that food labels, like, if you buy yourself a bar, like a muesli bar, food labels legally, because things happen with machines when food's getting made, food labels can be out. Like your bar can be smaller or larger, something like 15 to 20% calorie wise without them having to change label, because that's just how things are made food wise. So you might actually think you're having a 150 calorie bar, and there's no way to know this, so don't overly stress it, but just so people know, it's, those little things, weigh it, measure it.
Yeah.
There's something else I was going to tell you. The other big thing is if you start your day with a high protein breakfast, unless you've just done this huge amount of exercise, you are going to want some carbohydrate there as well. But especially if you're not a morning exerciser before you eat, high protein breakfast with lots of veg gives you so much better stable energy levels for the whole rest of the day. That is actually one of the best things for weight loss or fat loss or whatever. And not everyone's going for that. I know that, but 80% of the population is amazing. Whereas if you start your day with this is going to sound mean. If you start your day with cereal, I think cereal is a waste of a meal. Like, it's a waste. Like, there's so many more fun things you could be eating than a bowl of milk and grain.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
creative. I know people are short of time. Use a protein bar, make a smoothie. But like, I always watch people have cereal, and I get we're stressed or it's a money thing or whatever, but it's a habit for a lot of people as well. I just think you're starting your day with this big carb bomb, which means your blood sugars are going to go up and then they're going to come down. You're going to get hungry. You're going to want more. The brain knows the fastest way to more fuel is through carbohydrate that doesn't have a lot of fiber or highly processed food. It knows sugar is going to go through the system fast to give it more fuel. So you end up on that roller coaster. Whereas if you start the day with a good amount of protein, you can have carbs, you can have your veg, you can have bread, whatever, but hit of protein there, so much more in control of your cravings for the rest of the day. I really suggest listeners give that a go.
How do you feel about
coffee?
Well, I love coffee.
As I've been drinking coffee during our chat. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask about. So I think that the challenge with breakfast in a Western society is that we view breakfast foods in a really warped way. Do you know what I mean? Like, cereal's a breakfast food. Yeah. And like, I'm not saying that the Euro version's any better because that's let's not go there. But I would actually say that in maybe like a Southeast Asian culture.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really interesting savory breakfast, right? It's a savory style breakfast.
Oh my God, I love savory for breakfast.
Yeah. And so when people have that kind of barrier against breakfast because they want a breakfast food, how can we help people to get their head around the fact that it doesn't need to be a breakfast food, so to speak?
I mean, leftovers is amazing. We're known for I get these amazing organic sausages, which, has a bit of fat in it. But anyway, a little sausage for breakfast, like a big protein hit if you're in a rush. Like, how to get over it. I just think it's changing most people, unless you're allergic to it or don't eat them, like eggs for breakfast is so, making yourself this really yummy. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I just learned how to make a really good omelet because I bought myself a little omelet pan and now I'm like omelet queen. And, it's not hard. Throw in a little goat's cheese, some salt, whip up my eggs, just, a few tomatoes cut up. It's literally, I can make an omelet in the time I can toast bread. And a lot of people are always like, I don't have time. And meal prepping for breakfast is probably your smartest go. Not lunch, not dinner, breakfast. Like, make a big tray of like a frittata, or I make these gorgeous little egg muffiny things, just having that. I do have some bars. And again, it's more processed. But if I'm absolutely running short on time and I drive to uni at 6:30 in the morning, I do have this really big protein bar that I will eat in the car as I'm driving. Like, there are ways to do it better.
Yeah.
A bar every day is not optimum, but it's better than me grabbing a muesli. Well, I wouldn't have a muesli bar, but
Yeah. Cereal.
Yeah. And I think we underrate, this might be controversial. Oh, I don't think it'll be controversial. The meal services out there and the pre-prepped meals on the market at the moment are dirt. They're so cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I know petrol's expensive. I know, there's lots, like, at every supermarket, at every petrol station, when you're driving home from work and you're exhausted, there are amazing meals. Yes, it's cheaper to do it yourself, but depends on how much time. There's amazing high protein, low carb meals, or, if you're not terrible, but if you struggle to make those meals that are high protein, low carb, go and buy a bunch of those that are frozen. Or every year I try a bunch of the new ones. Or, I have a client with they needed, kosher, and then they needed, or halal, and then they need, this amount of protein, but they have these food allergies. I just searched high and low last year for an elite athlete footballer to fit in the worst food parameters I've ever had to look at, like their food allergies. But I found there's amazing meal delivery, especially if you're in a major city, and you can freeze them, you can do whatever. And that way you're not defaulting to shit. Sorry, we're swearing today, I've noticed.
Swear away.
It's just there so you don't mess it up, or you don't, like, portion control is really hard for a lot of people. Those meals are a set portion, right?
Yeah.
Make
I
it
mean,
easy to be healthy.
yeah, I think that is, I always find it very interesting where people are resistant to like a meal service, but
Oh
will
my
get
God.
Uber Eats all the time. And I'm kind of like,
And that's so much more expensive.
it's so much more expensive. Number one, it's like, okay, so Uber Eats is comfort because you're getting a food that even if you think it's healthy, like,
Yeah.
that's still a like you're trying to get something that you want to eat, or you know that you have a craving for or a desire for or something like that.
Yeah.
But you could circumvent those by being prepared and having 4 different types of frozen meals in your freezer and going, oh, what do I actually feel like I want?
There's some amazing frozen meal companies, like with no additives, super clean ingredients. I shouldn't use clean, but super healthy ingredients. And I will make sure my freezer's empty. And I'm married. I have a university age kid, but even when they were younger, life is busy. And I might be a nutritionist, naturopath. I'm not a star chef. I love cooking if I have time, but I never have time. I will do $500 of meals just in the freezer so that there always is that default. And I basically just order protein meals. Maybe there's a bit of potato and some things, but then I'm very quick at making a salad. I mean, the world is so easy. You can buy pre-made salad these days if there's plastic, but yeah, everything's even washed for you. You literally dump it and it is so easy to do it well if you take the time. I think I do with clients too, is I'm like, slowly walk through the grocery store. Don't be in a rush. Once a month, just up and down the aisles. Look at all the new frozen meals or refrigerated meals, even in Kohl's and Woolworths, right? Or IGA or wherever you go. I should go to Aldi and see what they've got. I haven't done that lately. There's so much stuff that you can do to make life easy, or, in a huge rush. My clients are big takeaway eaters. Charcoal chicken and salads. Dude, that stuff is yummy. A charcoal it's so much cheaper to buy a whole chicken than little pieces of chicken. You can, it's
Yeah. I like, even that like comes to mind. It's like you get a whole chicken, you've got some frozen veggies in the like in your freezer.
Yeah.
You dump a whole bunch like all together on your plate, grab a dressing.
It's done.
Amazing.
It's
like you're done.
Quick. It's
and that's
quick.
Quicker than Uber Eats. Because
oh my God, so much quicker. My neighbor gets McDonald's Uber Eats. I see it come in sometimes. I have to admit, I've never ordered from Uber Eats. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know why, but they've never come to my house.
Yeah. I've only done it. I would say I can count on like my fingers the amount of times I've done it, but that, there's a whole bunch of factors there that, I don't like the plastics and I want the small business to get the money and all of that kind of stuff out that compound those decisions for me as well, which I think are important.
And having frozen meals, I think this is also why it stops you from doing that, because a lot of the frozen meals I order, you can actually cook from frozen, or I just pull it out in the morning. I go off if I'm working out of the house, and then it's defrosted by the time I get it.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people have a barrier to these things because they think that it's hard. And I would love to see that mindset change. And I think that the way that we talk about it as a profession as well, I mean, I see a lot of coaches not eating that well, to be honest with you, but they can kind of get away with it in a way because
they're doing so much exercise.
They're doing, constantly active or, all of that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of us, and I would put myself in this bucket for sure, are afraid to be accountable for our food choices because society doesn't push us to be accountable. Society is like, oh, have that cake, or oh, treat yourself, or oh, you had a hard week, you deserve it, and that is it's so warped when you think about it, right?
But, food is, if we go back to it, food is community. Like somebody cooks or people cook and you gather and it's social, and sitting down with family or friends is very healthy for us. Serotonin, dopamine, all that, like it's good for us. But there's also, food is always taught as a reward, right? Or birthday. Food is a celebration, and food is yummy. We all know that, but we're brought up in a society where food is part of a celebration, or alcohol. Like, let's
Mhm.
talk alcohol for a minute. That it's so hard, and willpower. We aren't born with incredible, like, we're not actually created to have incredible willpower. We're
Yeah.
created to crave those things because, like, sweet and salt were very hard to get in nature. So of course that's what our body wants. Yeah, but the reward and celebration, we just take it too far, because you're in a big office. There's somebody's birthday every other day, or you're
Yep.
meeting people out, or people will, it's funny, as much as we hassle people for unhealthy choices at a restaurant, we also hassle people for healthy choices. What do you mean you're
100%.
not drinking? Oh, come on, just have, yeah.
Yep.
It's funny. A
Yep.
friend invited me over the other night, and I was like, oh, are we having, I have maybe 2 drinks a week if it's not a social week. Alcohol's just not my thing. And I got over to my friend's house, who I know loves having a drink every now and then. And I was like, oh, are we having wine or whatever? She's like, no, I just thought I'd give you herbal tea. And it was so interesting, because I was the safe person for her to just go, I don't want to drink tonight. Are you good with tea? And I was like, of course I'm good with tea. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
Yeah. The conversations around that I always found quite fascinating. It's,
There's a lot of
it's the
projection.
health shaming, or that projection's a better word for it, because it's that when someone has decided to invest time and commitment, I think,
Yeah.
into their food choices, that just puts a mirror up to anyone else who doesn't
Yeah.
want to,
And they
hasn't
will
done it, or
usually hassle you for it. I was at a huge party the other night when I did all my dancing, and I drove, but I didn't tell anybody I drove. And I was starting this kind of health reset. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have my 1 glass of champagne, and then I'll be done with it. I just kept my champagne glass. I'm not hiding. If anyone asked me if I was drinking or not, I would say no. But I just kept filling my champagne glass with water, or ice and water, or soda water. No one even questioned me, right? People are always like, oh, the pressure, the pressure. You literally just, nobody cares.
yeah,
And by the time everyone else has 2 drinks, they're not thinking about what you're drinking. And it
yeah.
was so easy. No one questioned me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think a lot less people are doing that kind of questioning. And I would
Yeah.
also just say, like, to the people doing the questioning, like, why are you doing that to your friend?
I
Like,
know.
you probably do it out of love, but that's not a loving thing
Yeah.
to do. It's really not
Yeah.
a loving thing to do.
Or
And
food allergies, right?
yeah,
Hassling people
yeah.
over their food allergies. If someone's decided to omit something because they feel better, leave them the fuck alone. Sorry.
Yes, no,
But
I
people
love it.
are like, and you're like, no. The other day, again, I'm in my 50s, so it's the time to have better boundaries, I think, for the first. I'm this bossy, loud person. Everyone thinks I have good boundaries, but I sometimes don't. But this whole group of friends was organizing to go out, and they're like, oh my God, this place has like a set menu. It's $80. It's fine. I can do $80. But I just said, and blah, blah, blah. And I have quite, like, true food allergies, right? And I just texted back. I'm like, can we just go somewhere where we can each order? Because if it's an $80 set
Yeah.
menu, the chef is going to hate me because I'm celiac and I'm allergic to seafood and fish. And we're in Sydney. And I'm like, I just need somewhere I can order my own thing, and I'm not going to pay $80 to have 2 slices of terrible gluten-free bread and a salad while you all eat amazing oysters, whatever. Right? I finally just went boom. And everyone was like, sure, no problem.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Because true friends will
Yeah.
help you
We'll
to
have your
achieve
back.
your goals.
Yeah.
That's the kind of support that we want to provide for our clients, right? So
Yeah.
we're the support people for our clients, and it's so hard when we hear that their partner, significant other, family, or whatever shames them for their
Yeah, there's a
healthier
lot of
food
sabotaging.
choices. Yes.
There's unconscious sabotaging that happens a lot. So if somebody is always hassling you over your healthier food choices, you need to question that or call them on it,
Call them.
as long as it's going to be safe to call somebody on it. Just say, you know what? You deal with your stuff. This is where yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. I agree. I have one last question for you because
Yeah.
I have this conversation. I would say, from my experience, is more of a female
Go for it.
issue rather than a male issue, where women are underfueling.
I posted on that the other day, actually,
Yeah,
I think.
I saw.
Yeah. Yes.
What is this concept,
Right.
and how can someone recognize if they're underfueling?
Yeah. So underfueling, and I like this new term of underfueling because what we're saying is, women have habitually starved themselves, try to eat as little as possible. They do a lot of exercise and it causes all type of problems. So I think we've kind of changed the terminology now and we're saying this person underfueling means you are not eating enough food for the volume of exercise you are doing in trying to stay lean and fit and however you want to look. So underfueling causes all types of trouble. But underfueling is under eating for your output is really what it is. And oh my gosh, I mean it's bad for everybody, and there are days that it's going to happen, right? And we're not talking someone trying to lose weight and just going down by 300 calories. I'm talking massively underfueling. So, really not giving your body enough fuel for all of its processes. So, a lot of things happen. If you continually underfuel habitually, your body kind of gets, I'm going to be unscientific, but your body gets a bit angry and it's like, or frustrated. And it's like, you are not giving me enough for what you're trying to create or what you're trying to do with your body. So I'm just going to turn the thermostat down. I'm going to take the thyroid and I'm going to turn it down so that you don't need as many calories per day to stay the size you are. So in the end, you often hear people say, oh, they broke their metabolism. It's an unhealthy thing to say, but they've disabled their metabolism a little bit, right? It's fixable. It's easily fixable by going back up and some other things, being gentle. But one of the biggest things for females or some female at birth is watching their cycle. So obviously not if they're on the pill or have an IUD or other things that are, if you are giving your body external hormones, that's different. And hormone replacement for perimenopause, that's different. Again, but I'm talking about like pill and contraceptives and things like that. So not the first symptom, but a classic symptom is your period will go, I'm going to say wobbly. Your period changes or your cycle will go shorter or it will go longer. It can go in either direction, or you'll start. Actually, some people actually will bleed heavier, or some people it goes lighter, or losing your period. Having amenorrhea, lack of a cycle, is so bad for the body. I can't even overstate, understate. I don't even know. It breaks my heart. And especially the first couple months is really hard on the body. Yes, it happens. And if it happens, don't stress, just get on top of it. But not having a period is not a goal. That means your body is like, you are feeding me so little for how much training you're doing, or just feeding me so little that I'm having trouble keeping you alive. So I am for sure not going to make it that there's a you and a somebody else riding along in your body. But it's not just that, it's you lose bone density rapidly and you need every ounce of bone density because once you hit the 40s and 50s, it's hard to maintain. You lose bone density, your hair can fall. Like there's a bunch of structural things that won't look good. And that might be a bigger impetus for people than what's happening on the inside. But, you lose muscle mass, you lose like so many things happen when we
Mm,
underfuel. Your body will have to start literally eating itself. It's old dead and dying tissue. No, it will go for not just your fat stores, it goes for your muscle mass. And
mm.
so you'll lose muscle mass. And your muscle mass is how you actually keep your metabolism high, right? And I've probably forgot 80 different things to say there. But oh my God, mental state can
Yep.
deteriorate. exhaustion, concentration, but the muscle mass and the bone loss is and could be creating fertility problems later down the line. Oh my God, there's 80 other things I should say about that. But yeah.
Okay, I like it. I think
Tiredness,
that's it.
trouble sleeping. You would think you would sleep more, but your sleep actually gets worse. Yeah, we have a
I,
lot of research on that in the last decade.
yeah, because I obviously wanted to find that balance between that overconsumption, and then there's definitely people who are falling into that underconsumption, that the continual underconsumption. And
Yeah,
I said in my experience, I see it mostly in women. It definitely happens to men as well, and I would say similar symptoms, except
yeah,
just outside the cycle side of things.
yeah. Well,
A big
everybody's
drop in
hormones go
testosterone.
down. I
Yeah,
didn't say
yeah,
when you lose your period, all your hormones, if you test them, are like way lower. And for males, testosterone way down. I actually had a client 2 years ago who went on this huge health kick before he was my client. Super smart man and was not trying to underfuel, but he just got into this huge exercise regime and was tracking and almost just went too far with it without even noticing. And this is like a PhD smart man who's aware of his body. And his testosterone got so low that the endocrinologist thought he was having like testicular failure. He was like, "You're going to have to be on testosterone for the rest of your life." And he was like
wow,
freaking out. And I was like, "No, this is actually it was a big underfueling." And I'm like, "Let's
wow.
get his testosterone's beautifully back now."
Yeah, it's the body's so amazing.
The body's so smart.
I love
We
how you
actually
talk about
cannot
rebound.
outsmart the body. We can't. It's so much smarter than us.
Yeah,
We're
I
built for
think
survival.
I think that's a beautiful place to end, Kira.
Aw.
That that was amazing. Thank you so much for
Aw,
these beautiful tips. So
I love
great.
it. There's
If you
some
want to get in
great basics.
if you want to get in contact with Kira, her details are in the show notes.
Yeah.
She's located in Sydney. She's amazing. If you want to be educated by her, put your hand up. Definitely do it. She is a
Yay.
wonderful educator. That's where I met her.
Yay.
Thanks, Kira. Love your energy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are you located in Sydney? I'm passionate about working one-on-one with clients. During an introductory session, I'll get to know you and your body, your pains, frustrations, and learn what movements light you up. We'll then get right to work, getting you moving in new and unique ways that will help you find pure joy and fulfillment with movement. Click on the Work With Me link in the show notes and let's get started.